Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Actually, Nancy,
the American people want to know. What the American people want to know why so many people are too stupid to know the truth. That's what the American people want to know. Like they're fed disinformation by Lindell Network and by all these other right-wing networks.
Media.
Like this lie, like that it
Pillow
was January 6th. Nancy Pelosi refused. No, that's a lie. But it's amazing, Mika, how these lies become truth. In part, they become truth because more Democrats don't do what Nancy Pelosi just did right there. The lies are everywhere on the far right, and they're all around January 6th. The lies continue. They try to do investigations where there are lies.
The January 6th attack at the Capitol was preventable. On January 3rd, I requested the assistance of the National Guard to support my perimeter and was denied by the 2 sergeant-at-arms over the concern for politics and optics. Still concerned for the number of personnel I had on my perimeter, less than 2 hours later, we were violently attacked on the west front of the Capitol at 12:53 p.m. Minutes after the attack began, I made my first call to House Sergeant-at-Arms Paul Irving at 12:58 p.m. to request approval to bring in the National Guard. Let me run it up the chain, and I will get back to you, was his response.
What the American people want to know why so many people are too stupid to know the truth. That's what the American people want to know. Like they're fed disinformation. Nancy Pelosi refused to No, that's a lie. The lies are everywhere on the far right, and they're all around January 6th. The lies continue. They try to do investigations where there are lies after they spent years with John Durham doing the same thing, spending millions and millions of taxpayers, again, pursuing lies. And yet this is the American people. No, the American people know there are a group of people who intentionally want to believe lies on the MAGA right.
Remember, Capitol Hill Chief of Police Stephen Sund is this guy right here. We remember who he is. Nancy Pelosi basically blamed him and tried to frame him for all of the problems on January 6th. But the videos that have come out now show Nancy Pelosi, of course, has to accept responsibility because she was Speaker of the House. The House Sergeant-at-Arms reported to her, and the Capitol Hill Chief of Police, Stephen Sund, reported to him. So they had to get Nancy's approval to get the National Guard. Now,
Nancy Pelosi refused to No, that's a lie. The lies are everywhere on the far right, and they're all around January 6th. The lies continue.
They needed, on the day of, they needed approval in order for the person who could make the call to bring them in from Nancy Pelosi. And the guy who was going to make that call was Stephen Sund. He says, ma'am, Nancy, let me help refresh your memory. It was your Sergeant-at-Arms who repeatedly denied my multiple requests for National Guard assistance before and on January 6th. You denied it. Even on January 6th, your Sergeant-at-Arms denied my urgent requests for over 70 minutes while he was, quote, running it up the chain.
American people know there are a group of people who intentionally want to believe lies on the MAGA right. But people can know the truth, but they don't like the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
And now they want to go on, and now they want to prosecute other people who they think, oh, Joe Biden's sick on Donald Trump. While Donald Trump, President of the United States, says this person should be arrested, this person should be arrested. Can you imagine what the far right, what the MAGA right would have done if Joe Biden had held a press conference in the Oval Office saying, I want these 4 or 5 Republicans arrested? They would have gone crazy.
It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up.
Imagine what the far right, what the MAGA right would have done if Joe Biden had held a press conference in the Oval Office saying, I want these 4 or 5 Republicans arrested, they would have gone crazy.
We got to lock him up.
People know there are a group of people who intentionally want to believe lies on the MAGA right. When are the far right-wing podcasters going to say something saying, this is really dangerous because they're going to come after us next?
Yeah.
If this is the new normal in Washington, D.C., we might be next by talking about continuing to pursue political enemies.
Joe Biden's White House is directly involved. The Fulton County DA, who forced Trump to take the mugshot, Fani Willis, allegedly hired the guy she was sleeping with to prosecute the Trump case. Documents show Fani's lover boy met with the Biden White House while he was investigating Trump twice. Then Fani's lover boy has an 8-hour conference with Joe Biden's White House counsel. Then a few months later, the lover boy has an 8-hour interview with the White House. And lover boy billed the taxpayer $2,000 for each meeting, which would mean local prosecutors prosecuting Donald Trump are officially working with the Biden White House. And so Georgia taxpayers are getting billed so Fani's boyfriend can conspire with Biden to lock up Trump.
There are a group of people who intentionally want to believe lies on the MAGA right. People can know the truth, but they don't like the truth. So they keep spouting lies to Nancy Pelosi and other people about January 6th. And now they want to go on and now they want to prosecute other people who they think, Joe Biden's sick on Donald Trump. Well, can you imagine what the far right, what the MAGA right would have done if Joe Biden had held a press conference in the Oval Office saying, I want these 4 or 5, Republicans arrested? They would have gone crazy.
White House visitor logs just released suggest that Joe Biden is personally running the prosecutions of Donald Trump. The Biden White House was much more involved in the Mar-a-Lago raid than we ever realized. Jay Bratt wanted a raid and lobbied the Biden White House to raid Mar-a-Lago. And weeks later, armed FBI agents got a warrant from a Trump-hating judge who happened to be an Obama donor and went in hard. And the Biden Justice Department indicted Donald Trump. Why is the Biden White House conspiring with the Justice Department and the special counsel's office to prosecute Donald Trump?
I have never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do relative to bringing a charge or not bringing a charge. I'm honest.
That's a lie. Not only do White House visitor logs prove that Joe Biden's team is working with the special counsel's office to raid and prosecute Joe Biden's top political opponent, the New York Times reported that Joe Biden was behind the urgent timeline.
Can you imagine what the far right, what the MAGA right would have done if Joe Biden had held a press conference in the Oval Office saying, I want these 4 or 5, Republicans arrested? They would have gone crazy.
They tapped the phones of 8 sitting lawmakers. What can you do to prevent this kind of surveillance? And how high up the chain did this go?
I think it went right up to the top. And I think it started with Obama. Obama was involved. Biden was involved, everybody. But you had, maybe worse than that, you had a House raided of the ex-president of the United States who actually won the second election by a lot. They were looking because they thought there was a report bad about them. They thought I had it, which I didn't have. I didn't have anything of any merit.
Do you expect there will be charges that there was a conspiracy against you?
I don't know about charges. You know, I'm the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. You know that, right? A lot of people say, oh, he's the president. He should. No, I'm the chief law enforcement. I'm allowed to be involved in it, but I haven't chosen to.
There are a group of people who intentionally want to believe lies on the MAGA right. When are the far right-wing podcasters going to say something saying, this is really dangerous because they're going to come after us next?
Then that Democrats popularized lawfare by trying to bankrupt, imprison, successfully impeaching the president, President Trump.
And yet it continues. Republicans need to speak up. And if Republicans don't speak out, then what we're looking at is the new normal. And that's a new normal that doesn't just hurt Democrats now. It hurts Republicans later. It hurts independents. It hurts all of us. It weakens the Constitution. It weakens political norms. It makes this democracy a much much more dangerous place to live.
These GOP senators were being surveilled. Their phones were being surveilled. I mean, they went to the phone companies and got the orders to do that to senators.
The accusations that the FBI spied on sitting Republican senators as part of the January 6th investigation.
Today, Republican senators are outraged, if not downright furious with the FBI after they learned that some of their calls were also probed as part of the investigation into January 6th, where senators were basically finding out where these people were calling and where they were calling from. The FBI pulled the phone records of those lawmakers a few years after the January 6th attack. But we are hearing from President Trump today. He says it looks like Jack Smith had his hand in the cookie jar.
They want to go on, and now they want to prosecute other people who they think, oh, Joe Biden's sick on Donald Trump. My God.
Quite honestly, by now, it should be obvious to every American that it's not the Republicans that are a threat to our democracy. It's President Obama, it's President Biden, it's the radical leftists that have served and support them.
There are a group of people who intentionally want to believe lies on the MAGA right. When are the far right-wing podcasters going to say something saying, you know, this is really dangerous because they're going to come after us next?
Yeah.
If this is the new normal in Washington, D.C., we might be next. No. This has to stop.
Bill, I think if they did this to a Republican senator, a dozen Republican senators, imagine what they did to the average American.
Then what we're looking at is the new normal. And that's a new normal that doesn't just hurt Democrats now, it hurts Republicans later.
You know, we've learned the power of projection. That when you accuse someone else of a certain sin, it is almost biblical that you are the one committing that sin. And for over a decade now, we've heard warnings of authoritarianism, of tyranny. And if this doesn't fit the definition, I don't know what does. Taking your political oppositions and placing them under investigation is the definition of an authoritarian government.
You know, I was here on set when they actually raided President Trump's residence, and it was just like such an it's such an overstretch of power to do that.
When are the far right-wing podcasters going to say something saying, you know, this is really dangerous because they're going to come after us next? They're sitting back and they're letting this be the new normal, and it has to stop for everybody's sake. Damn, this is not hard.
For this Crossfire hurricane is one of the greatest scandals in American history. The Democrats politicized and weaponized law enforcement and intel agencies to go after their political opponent, Donald Trump, and to help their political ally, Hillary Clinton, and cover up her corruption.
That Russian operatives have compromising personal and financial information about Donald Trump. There are even allegations that go back to several months ago about there having a pornographic video involving group sex featuring Donald Trump.
Oh, here's the world's smallest violin.
No one is above the law.
Oh, no one is above the law.
The Department of Justice has been weaponized by Biden through his dupe, Garland. How many times are you going to have impeachments and special prosecutors? And, you know, they watched Mueller and the Russia. How many times are they going to do this? It's the we hate Trump, gotta block him team. That's what it really is.
When your opponent declares war, you don't surrender, you don't roll over, you fight back, and fight back to win. Win so convincingly there's never another war. If Trump doesn't fight back, the Democrats are just going to keep putting more and more of our people in prison. This was an 8-year MAGA dragnet.
Can't let this go on.
They arrested a president, his White House chief of staff, his chief advisor, his national security advisor, his trade advisor, his campaign manager, his campaign consultants, his lawyers, his CFO, and even his valet.
When are the far right-wing podcasters going to say something saying, you know, this is really dangerous because they're going to come after us next?
They arrested his entire inner circle. Could you imagine if Trump had arrested Barack Obama and everyone around him? And not only that, they spied on his campaign, framed him as a Russian operative, staged a coup, impeached him twice, raided his house, leaked his tax returns.
No. This has to stop.
Oh man, Shazam, bam, my damn fam. Get with the program. Hannibal the cannibal, a sacrificial lamb, a spark in the dark, it ignites, takes flight. Static in my veins tonight. Alright, you think you seen it all, but you ain't seen me. Unfolding like thunder crashing, free. I'm a hot wildfire racing across the plains. Might be a little late to this rap game, but that don't mean I'm not dope. Nope, just the same. No leash, no chain. Nope, just untamed flames. A wild cowboy, I'm just like John Wayne. Watch the sky as it burns, it screams, it cries. You're caught in the blaze with no disguise. A lyrical, physical individual, just a divisible criminal, despicable and mythical at the pinnacle of this quizzical. If you can't keep up with my syllables, print the printable for a visual if that's permissible.